When technology moves faster than businesses can possibly adapt, how do organisations stay ahead without losing sight of the people behind the systems? Because as AI and automation continue to redefine what is possible, the future of IT services is not just about efficiency gains or cost savings. It's about reimagining how technology and human experience intersect. And today I'm joined by Manish Tandon, CEO of Zensar Technologies. And together we're going to explore how Zensar is helping some of the largest businesses in the world navigate this very transition that I'm talking about. So I want to discuss the practical realities of embedding AI and automation into IT services. And yes, we'll also explore the ethical and operational challenges that come with that, and explore how true innovation often demands a complete rethink of traditional service models. And my guest today will also offer an insider view into how Zensar's experience-led everything approach is helping businesses move beyond digital transformation slogans to delivering solutions that work for people, not just systems. Whether that be from the evolving role of IT service providers to the real-world obstacles of deploying automation at scale, I invite you to join me in reflecting on where the opportunities and where the tensions lie as AI continues to reshape every industry. So, is the future of IT services purely technical? Or will the organisations that thrive be the ones that humanise automation while they master it? Let's find out by bringing Manish onto the podcast now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
This is Manish. I run a beautiful company called Zensar. It's a listed company, about 11,000 people globally. And we do some really interesting stuff using technology. Unlike other technology companies, we just don't work on engineering. We work on experiences, we work on engineering, and we also work on engagement. So if you are a product company or whatever, you can come to us and we'll do the product research for you. We can design that stuff for you. We can engineer it for you. And hey, we can market it for you also. So that is what Zensar does. I'm the CEO, the Chief Everything Officer, or as I like to say, I'm the guy responsible to make sure that whatever promises my HR is making, my salespeople are making, and my delivery guys are making, I'm the guy who's responsible for making sure that promises are kept.
Absolutely love it. And as you said, Zensar is a huge company listed as well. And for those that are listening, could be located anywhere in the world. Maybe they are hearing about you for the first time. I just don't want to lose anyone here. So how would you describe what Zensar does? And also, what makes it different from other IT service providers out there that they may have heard of?
Yeah, if you look at what Zensar does, so as I said, what differentiates us is that we are about creating better experiences, creating better futures using technology, right? And I don't know how many of your viewers or listeners will know this, but one of the first self-driving car insurance product was actually designed by us.
Wow.
All right. So right from what differentiates us is, I would say that we can use technology right from doing market research to, designing the experiences, defining it, putting the consumer at the center of it, and engineering that, and finally, being able to market that using technology. And in everything, there is technology involved in today's world, and that is where we specialize in. The other thing I would say that differentiates us is what I call, we are small enough to care and large enough to matter. So, there are these humongous companies where the size of the customer is smaller than the size of the company itself. Mm-hmm. And, you can imagine how they are treating those customers. While with us, as I keep telling my clients, no matter how small your project, I want you to be treated like a top 5 customer for Zensar. And that resonates very well with our client base. Key buyers for us are CIOs, chief digital officers, chief marketing officers. Those are the key buyers.
And one of the things that stands out for me is that experience-led everything approach that you mentioned right at the beginning of our conversation. So what does that actually mean when applied to, I don't know, AI and automation in IT services? Just to bring that to life so people listening can understand what that experience-led everything approach might look like in their world.
Yeah, I think, see, by the way, since you are in UK, the origin of this experience-led everything approach has originated in UK when we acquired a super company called Foolproof. And in fact, the transaction closed on the next day of Brexit. So talk about timing. And what we found was that, they were applying experiences to non-technology problems, so to say. And we realized that if you put, and at that time, technology companies were primarily talking only about engineering and technology, right? And what we realized is that we need, instead of focusing on the technology, just on technology, we need to put the end consumer, the user, at the center of whatever we are trying to do. Because guess what? If you create the best mousetrap in the world and nobody uses it, then it is a useless mousetrap, right? So that's what we are trying to address. I'll give you simple examples. We talk about package implementations, right? So you heard about SAP implementation, Oracle implementation, Salesforce implementation. Typically, technology companies will approach it as a technology problem. While what we do is we approach it as a user experience problem first. So instead of trying to first go in the nuts and bolts, we first create user personas and see, what is that user persona actually looking for? What will make life easier for him or her? What will make it more interesting? What will make it more exciting for him or her to come during the day and use the product? That is what experience-led everything approach is all about, where in design, you call it human-centric design, for example, right? In technology, we call it experience-led everything approach.
And you mentioned the UK there, and one of the reasons I know you is because you're working with some of the UK's largest businesses. So are you able to share maybe a real-world example of how Zensar has helped a client use AI or automation to improve efficiency or solve a persistent challenge? And the reason that I asked that is I think there's been a big focus this year on ROI of every tech project, especially AI projects. I think to begin with, people just dived in to be part of that AI narrative. But thankfully, we're coming back now to, hey, what problem are we solving? How we improve efficiency? How we're solving a real world problem? Are there any use cases that you can share or client stories you could share around how you're doing just that?
There are lots of case studies and stories that we can share. But see, the fundamental problem, Neil, is that the industry has done a disservice by calling this stuff as AI.
Yeah.
This is not artificial intelligence. This is good old automation. This is good old pattern recognition and pattern prediction. So one of the things that we have done is cut the hype and focus on this as an automation and productivity enhancement tool. And that is where the experience-centric stuff comes in, right? So I'll give you an example. Everyone talks about, this thing can write code. But I'll tell you a dirty little secret of the industry. Very few people in this industry actually write code from scratch. Okay. Very few people get an opportunity to start painting on a blank canvas, right? It is mostly you're trying to fix existing stuff. For example, there's still huge amount of COBOL sitting somewhere, mainframes, COBOLs, legacy technologies, what we call it in the industry as technical debt, right? So instead of trying to say, hey, we will generate code for you using this, we are saying no. What we will try and do for you is make this process of reduction of technical debt cheaper, faster, and better for you. So if you have 5 million lines of code sitting somewhere and you want to reduce the technical debt on it, we have created this engine using AI that we can look at that code and give you maybe 40 to 50% benefit in terms of shortened time cycles and quality and faster, right? And better and cheaper. So we did this exercise for a client, 5 million lines of code. You'll not believe it. We were able to reduce it to 1.5 million lines of code.
Wow.
So that is how we are approaching this AI thing, that we are looking at it more as advancement of human capabilities rather than replacing human capabilities.
And when we talk about AI and automation, they're often seen as game changers, but implementation of these emerging technologies isn't always straightforward. So I'm curious, what are some of the most common challenges or obstacles that you see businesses facing when integrating these technologies? Because I would imagine you have the ear of a lot of big organizations around the world. Are there any trends in the kind of obstacles that they encounter?
Well, when one trend, I can tell you that what we at Zensar have done and which clients have embraced very well for us is, again, I'll use the package implementation analogy. You are implementing, say, SAP in a 10,000 people organization. Okay. And there is so much change involved. Let's face it, some of these products don't have the best user experience or UI or whatever. So while what we tell clients is, it is not about just the engineering, it is about getting the engagement going with the end users. And if you want to, if you have designed the experience, it is easy to get the engagement going. But even if you have not designed the engagement, you still have to get the engagement going with your users. And we do a lot of and I tell them that, this is no different from doing an external marketing, doing the implementation of SAP and rolling it out to 10,000 people. You have to create excitement. You have to do what you are doing. You have to conduct trainings. You have to make the end user connect, engage with the product. And a lot of these things today, clients are hiring us just to do that part of the business. That, we don't know, some consultant has come and done this implementation. Out of the 10,000 people, even 1,000 are not using it. Everyone is sick of this whole thing. Can you help us in engaging our user base with this? And, there are dramatic changes that you see. I mean, when Microsoft Teams was launched, we were asked to run a campaign for team adoption in the top Microsoft Teams adoption in the top 100 people. And the adoption rate went up from something like 5% to about 80% within 3 months. Mm-hmm. Great example of how we can do some of these things.
And of course, here in 2025, we're now in the third year since generative AI first arrived and all that hype began. But from your perspective, how is the role of AI in IT services evolving? Are we still in a phase of experimentation, do you think, or are businesses now scaling these solutions with more confidence as the technology matures? From what you're seeing, how do you see this? Is it maturing?
I don't think so. I think there are two parts to it. One is the technology, the underlying technology is evolving. So every month, or now almost every week, you hear about a new engine, a new approach, ChatGPT 4.40, 5.0, 6.0, DeepSeek 1.0, R2, whatever. right?
Yeah.
And that itself is, so the underlying, the base on which you are trying to build it is evolving. Simultaneously, what what is also evolving as this technology is evolving, what is also evolving is the use cases of how this can be applied in the enterprise space. And that is where it has become a big struggle for most of the enterprises to figure out, how to drive. See, for enterprises, it's about two things. Either it drives revenues for them or it reduces costs for them, right? Till now, very few revenue generating stuff has come out of generative AI, except for the search engines and so on. And on the cost side, what they are finding is that most of the use cases, they will improve my productivity by 5%, 10%, your productivity by 5%, 10%. But, that doesn't mean that out of the 1,000 people, we can reduce 100 people, right? So the cost impact is also not being felt so much. So there is evolution happening on both sides in the underlying technology and also the use cases that it can be applied to.
And of course, the ethical side of AI is also becoming more prominent now. So, how do you ensure responsible use of AI in your solutions, particularly in areas that are highly reported at the moment that, for example, might impact jobs or impact decision making at any level? How do you ensure that responsible usage of AI?
Yeah, so we actually have an offering on responsible AI, and which is, I can give it fancy names, you can give it fancy names, but it is about quality of assurance of your AI tool. Okay. Good old testing, quality assurance kind of stuff.
Mm.
So if you have a chatbot which is supposed to answer customer queries, and if the customer asks about, China or whatever, the chatbot is supposed to say, no, I don't know this. I'm not supposed to know this. Right? So even at that level, there are challenges. The second challenge is, if this chatbot or whatever, if this generative AI is learning stuff, how do you make sure that it is not learning the wrong stuff?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there are so many examples. I think Microsoft or some company launched their first chatbot, put it on Twitter or one of these things, and soon it learned all the four-letter words that were out there and started spewing them out. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to figure out, you cannot solve this problem generically. You have to solve this problem at an individual application level, and that is where our play on responsible AI comes in. A, it doesn't answer what it's not supposed to answer. B, it gives the right answer in 99% of the cases. C, it doesn't get into politically sensitive topics or whatever. And that is what you have to work on. You can't solve the problem generically.
And of course, Zensar has a huge global presence. So I'm curious, are you seeing any regional differences in how businesses are approaching AI and automation, especially when comparing markets from, I don't know, the UK to Europe to India and the US? Are there any differences there?
Well, I would say Europeans are much more practical in their, in what they expect compared to Americans. So that is one difference that I would see. The second difference I would see is that the degree of conservatism in terms of letting loose the technology, and degree of, let's be practical about it, rather than, I would say, is much more balanced in Europe than, including UK, than say in the US. So a lot of, I think Europe believes less in the hype and more of show it to me now. While here, there's a lot of, maybe because you're close to the source of hype, it
Yeah.
is impacting people more.
And if we do dare to look to the next few years, what are you most excited about when it comes to the future of IT services, and where do you see Zensar making the biggest impact? Because, as you said, there is so much hype at the moment, but you do seem to be incredibly level-headed and practical about this. So, without inflating our expectations, what excites you over the next few years?
One reason I am in the technology sector is you're always, every 2 to 3 years, you're dealing with something new, something different, something challenging.
Yeah.
Is in all other industries, the pace of evolution is much slower. In the technology industry, it's very rapid. And I started, not many people might know it, but I started my career in finance, but I lasted there for only 1 year. And I said, this is too boring because the technology industry, evolves. So, see, today, the great thing about this industry is today I can say I am excited about the potential of AI. And maybe it will work out, maybe it will not work out. But even if it doesn't work out, there will be something else that I would be excited about, right? Because the technology penetration in our lives is increasing day by day, not even year by year, right? So that is what really excites me, that, okay, today someone is talking about AI. I mean, tomorrow, two guys in a garage, maybe in, not just in Bay Area, maybe in Berlin, or maybe in China, or maybe in Cambridge, will come up with something that, will blow our minds on this stuff, right? So that is what is really, really exciting. That the anticipation of excitement is what is really exciting, if I may say.
Absolutely love that. And you've been on quite a journey there. And I love your story from that world of finance to technology. And one of the things I'd love to ask you, because I would suspect as part of that journey, you've had to continuously evolve and educate yourself along the way. And I think right here in 2025, it can be quite intimidating for a lot of people on how they keep up to speed with the pace of a technological change and how you self-educate. So any tips or examples you can share of how you keep up to speed with things, how you self-educate?
I think the first thing is realizing the need that your education actually starts the day you end college, doesn't end at the day you end college, right? And I've been fortunate to went to some of the top colleges in the world. And one of the things that I learned very early is that what we are being taught is just the foundation. And thanks to the fact that I studied engineering and also management, it has created a broad foundation for me. And I need to continue to build on that foundation. So, how do I do it? One, most important is you need to realize what I said, that every week, and even as a professional, forget about a student, even as a professional, if you stop evolving, then you're almost dying. And what I do is I do two things. I read extensively, extensive, and anything and everything under the sun. These days, I'm interested in history. So, and by the way, there is a new medium, which is podcasting, which has made life even easier if you want to learn something, because 40 minutes drive both sides. It's very interesting to just listen in. And now you have, at least in the US, you have self-driving cars. So, as I say, Elon Musk is driving me, and I'm listening to a very nice podcast in the process, and still learning. Talk about productivity and efficiency. So that is one. Second is connect, be in touch with the right people. I'm parts of a lot of junk WhatsApp groups, but I am also parts of very, very interesting WhatsApp groups, which are, where people just talk about, AGI, artificial general intelligence. There's a group on AGI, for example, and these are top engineers and this thing. Somehow someone sent me an invite. I joined it. So many interesting things you learn from other people. The biggest source, one is reading, and the other biggest source of learning is from other people. And you'll be surprised to know, actually, I hardly watch any TV.
Yeah.
I think I have lost the patience to sit through television. The only television that I watch is live sports because, with the tools available today, there's tremendous amount of learning that you can do. And I, as a professional, ask myself every week, okay, what did I learn this week? What did I add to my capabilities this week? Because as a human being, the day you stop evolving is the day you're dead.
Oh, wow. What a powerful moment to end on. And so much gold in your answer there, especially around the WhatsApp groups. I think most people listening will have WhatsApp groups where people are just sharing memes and things like that around. But those groups, like the AGI group that you mentioned there, so powerful and it gives access to so many different areas. And thank you so much for sharing your insights around this stuff today. And you said you don't watch too much TV, but you do watch live sports. If you follow a sports team like I do, believe me, that can test your patience and frustration even more than some of those shows. But what I'd love to do is see if there's something we can do for you now, because some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or might even listen to this podcast. I even learned recently that John Cena, the wrestling legend, was following me on Twitter. I don't know if he listens or not, but there's something to think about. So with that in mind, is there a person that you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with, and why? Because he or she might just get to hear this. So who would it be?
Look, I am a fan of people who have produced real results. So I'm not a fan of celebrities per se. Intuitively, people like Elon Musk, Bezos, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. All these guys are people who have achieved something. And these are the kind of people I would love to have a private breakfast with. For Warren Buffett, it is very expensive to get a private breakfast for him. It is auctioned off, so I don't know. And I'm not in the league of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos anyway. but since you asked, I would say more this kind of profile than anything else.
Well, let's throw it out into the universe anyway. Let's see if we can manifest it. And man, if you've got Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett around the same table, that could be quite a lively discussion as well. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
We will put that out in the universe. It's there and see what we can do there. But for everyone else listening, wanting to find out more information about you, your work, how you might be able to help, keep up to speed with the developments there, where would you like to point everyone listening?
www.zensar.com is the best place to see what we are doing. And if you want to connect with me, I would say LinkedIn is the best place to connect with me. I would say I normally get close to 1,000 requests on connections every month. I accept most of them. So feel free.
Well, I feel another 1,000 coming your way. You might regret saying that, but seriously, for me, our conversation today had absolutely everything from shaping the future of IT services with AI and automation, how you at Zensar are leveraging AI and automation to enhance your IT services, but also, more than anything, bringing it to life with real-world applications, challenges, and ethical considerations in our discussion today around that integration process of AI into IT services. I'd love to hear what people have thought of our conversation. Hopefully they can share some stories with me directly, but more than anything, thank you for starting this conversation today with me, Manish.
Thank you for having me, Neil, and thank you for your listeners if they are listening to this podcast.
I think as our conversation with Manish reveals, AI and automation, they're not silver bullets. They are powerful tools, but ones that demand a thoughtful integration, ethical consideration, and also a sharp focus on the human experience behind every single interaction. That is why I invited Manish on the podcast today, because Zensar's experience-led philosophy, I think, offers a glimpse of what it looks like when innovation is not driven purely by technology for technology's sake. And let's be honest, we've all seen many examples of that over the last few years. But instead, they're leading by the needs and the aspirations of the business and the people that it serves. So, as automation becomes more deeply woven into the very fabric of IT services, the real differentiator might not be the best algorithms, but who can build the most trusted, intuitive, and empowering experiences around them at the same time. But over to you. How should you and your business rethink your approach to IT services, especially in an era where machines can do more, but expectations are equally rising faster than ever before? And how can you ensure that even as systems become smarter, that human touch is not lost, but strengthened? Love to hear your thoughts on this. Please reach out, share your perspective by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, just at Neil C. Hughes. So keep your thoughts coming in. I'll get straight back to you, and also I'm going to prepare for another guest coming your way. So thank you for listening as always, and I look forward to speaking with you all again very soon.